Let's explore PHP functions. We'll cover the basics and fundamentals of functions in PHP. We'll begin with function declaration, which involves creating reusable code blocks. Then we'll discuss parameters and return values, which is all about data flow in and out of functions. What exactly is a function? A function is a reusable block of code that performs a specific task. It can accept input, process that input, and return output. Functions provide several benefits, including code reusability, modular design, cleaner code, and easier debugging. Let's take a look at the basic syntax for declaring a function in PHP. The basic syntax includes the keyword function, followed by the name of the function, then parentheses, and finally a code block enclosed in curly braces. Within the curly braces, you write the code that the function will execute. For example, here's a simple function called say hello. The function uses the echo statement to display the string hello world. To call the function, simply write the function's name followed by parentheses. Functions can accept parameters, which are input values that you pass to the function. Here's an example of a function called greet that accepts a single parameter called name. Inside the function, the value of the name parameter is concatenated with the string hello and displayed using the echo statement. When you call the function, you pass the argument Alice to the function. Functions can also accept multiple parameters. Here's an example of a function called add that accepts two parameters, a and b. Inside the function, the sum of a and b is calculated and stored in the result variable, which is then displayed using the echo statement. When you call the function, you pass the arguments 5 and 3 to the function. In PHP, you can also define default values for function parameters. If a caller does not provide a value for a parameter with a default value, then the default value will be used. Here's an example of a function called greetUser that accepts a single parameter called name. The name parameter has a default value of guest. If you call the function without providing a value for the name parameter, it will default to guest. You can also define default values for multiple parameters. Here's an example of a function called createProfile that accepts 3 parameters, name, age, and city. The age parameter has a default value of 18, and the city parameter has a default value of unknown. When calling this function, you can pass only the name, and the age and city will default to their default values. You can also pass the name and age, and the city will default to its default value. Functions can also return values to the caller. To return a value from a function, you use the return statement. Here's an example of a function called multiply that accepts 2 parameters, a and b. Inside the function, the product of a and b is calculated, and the result is returned using the return statement. The return value can be stored in a variable. Functions can also use conditional logic to return different values based on different conditions. Here's an example of a function called isAdult that accepts a single parameter called age. Inside the function, an if statement checks if the age is greater than or equal to 18. If it is, the function returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. Here's a complete example of a function that demonstrates many of the concepts we've discussed. The function is called calculateDiscount, and it takes 2 parameters, price and discount. The discount parameter has a default value of 10. The function first validates the input to ensure that the price is greater than 0. If the price is not valid, the function returns the string invalid price. Otherwise, the function calculates the discounted price by subtracting the discount amount from the original price. Finally, the function returns the discounted price. Here are a few examples of how to use the calculateDiscount function. If you call the function with a price of 100, it will return 90, which is 10% off of 100, using the default discount of 10%. If you call the function with a price of 200 and a discount of 20, it will return 160, which is 20% off of 200. In summary, functions are reusable code blocks that accept parameters and can return values. This makes them useful for creating cleaner, more modular programs. To continue learning about functions, practice creating functions with different parameter types, and explore advanced concepts such as scope and variable functions. Get ready to build more complex applications. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.